Hey, all you Biconics wrestling fans out there. This is Mikey here, and I'm giving you an impromptu review of this past week's AEW Collision. I am recording via my phone because I have to go and take care of something really quickly, but I didn't want to leave you without a proper AEW Collision review. Overall, my thoughts for this AEW Collision was a lot of fun, especially when we get to talking about the main event. But I am going to briefly and concisely as best as I can run through this week's AEW Collision. We open up this week with a TNT Championship match triple threat, which saw champion Luchasaurus taking on Christian Cage and Darby Allin. This was a lot of fun. Ultimately, Christian Cage does get the upper hand as Darby is about to pin Lucha, and then Christian throws him off to pin Luchasaurus. So therefore, Christian Cage is your new TNT champion, which makes sense because he has been acting like this has been the championship of his, though it was Luchasaurus's, but now it's officially his. And I'm interested to see whether or not we're getting a slow or a fast burn when it comes to the storyline. And we'll talk more about this TNT championship because we get something set up for WrestleDream in a little bit. After this, we go backstage where we see Don Callis, Konosuke Takeshita, and Sammy Guevara, and basically answers Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega's challenge for WrestleDream. So essentially, the third member of the Don Callis family that's going to be a part of that match is going to be Will Ospreay. So it'll be Kenny, Chris, and Kota Ibushi taking on Takeshita, Guevara, and Will Ospreay. So that match has banger written all over it, so I'm excited for that one. Then we get another backstage segment in which this is where we see Christian Cage cut a promo, and we learned that at WrestleDream it will be Christian Cage versus Darby Allin in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the TNT Championship. So that should be a lot of fun. From here we get into the first tag team match of the evening, which sees the Michigan hometown hero of Rob Van Dam teaming up with Hook to take on Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange. Obviously, I was a little surprised that Rob Van Dam can go. I mean, I shouldn't be because he's still wrestling out here, but he did pretty good. And honestly, Hook and RVD is a team I did not know. I was also surprised to see how much offense that Cool Hand Ange and Daddy Magic got in, but ultimately, Hook and RVD pick up the victory here. We get a quick recap of Eddie Kingston winning the Ring of Honor Championship from Grand Slam, and we get the same promo in a bit of what he cut at the beginning of Ring of Honor. And on top of that, we learned that it's going to be Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata for the ROH and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship at WrestleDream. Listen, Eddie Kingston's cool. Katsuyori Shibata, if you have checked me out on the Ring of Honor reviews, you know that's my man. And I love the Pure Rule style. I'm excited for this match. Please, Tony Khan, give this time at WrestleDream. We get a vignette for the Dark Order as they go into their, you should join us. You need order. You need, to get rid of the chaos and all that, which is a lot of fun, in my opinion. So then we also get a backstage segment with the Kingdom, which sets up their match with Best Friends next week. So that should be interesting. Next, we get our only women's match. Yes, Tony, I'm looking at you sideways, bro. Why is it that we can only get one women's match on for all of the AEW shows? Tell me that. But, I'm letting it go. Because we saw Julia Hart taking on Kiera Hogan. So, originally when this was announced, it was supposed to be Julia Hart versus Willow. And for whatever reason, Willow couldn't be there. So, Kiera Hogan stepped in. This was a fun match. Julia Hart picks up the victory here. And then we get the promo in which the body count is going to continue unless Julia and Chris go at it. So essentially what this sets up is for the TBS Championship, we get Chris Statlander defending her title against Julia Hart at WrestleDream. I'm excited for it. It's going to be good. Next, we get a vignette with the Righteous, and basically this sets up that at WrestleDream, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships will be on the line with Better Than You, Baby, defending the titles against the Righteous. I don't think the Righteous have a real shot at winning here, but if they do, I will be surprised. But I think Better Than You, Baby is going to keep it, but I think this is going to be a fun match. Then my match of the night happens. You get Jay White taking on Andrade El Idolo. This match ruled, okay? Both of these men are familiar with each other through New Japan, and they killed it. There was a lot of false finishes. There were some great moves in here. Ultimately, JY does pick up a victory with a little assistance from the Bang Bang Club, the Bang Bang Gang, and whatever they want to call themselves, Bullet Club Gold, and ultimately defeats Andrade El Idolo. What I'm hoping is that as Andrade tries to continue to fight Bullet Club Gold, it will just get to the point where it will be Bullet Club Gold versus Los Facción de Ingornables. So him, Rush, Draglístico, and Preston Vance. I am here for it. It will be great. Next, we get a vignette of Ortiz, who's basically calling out Santana. And girl, let me tell you, the girls are fighting. And I'm super excited to see Ortiz and Santana eventually feud with one another. I think it's going to be a fun time. We get another backstage segment, this time with Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty, who Shane Taylor is basically calling out Keith Lee. So Shane Taylor versus Keith Lee, it might be a fun little feud. Don't know if it's going to happen in Wrestle Dream, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens. Then we get an AEW Tag Team Championship match, which we see the Workhorsemen taking on the FTR. Obviously, this match was a lot of fun. There was one particular moment that I popped really hard in which JD Drake, basically ran into Dax, who popped his gum, and then Cash caught it and put it in his mouth. A little bit of disgusting, but the crowd lost it, and so did I. I thought it was a fun moment. But ultimately, FTR do retain their titles. At this point, Aussie Open, who were on commentary, come into the ring and basically cut this really great promo that says that FTR better be ready because they're about to whoop some ass at Wrestle Dream for these titles, and I am excited. I cannot wait for that match. We then get a backstage segment where we see CJ Perry talking to Mackenzie, but Miro comes up, and basically we get this promo that they're going to be on two different paths, and CJ just wants Miro to stay out of her way, and she'll stay out of his, but I believe they're going to reunite at some point. CJ and Miro is something that I want to see big time. We get the bumpers for Dynamite and Collision, and we get a recap of what's confirmed for Wrestle Dream, so I'm super excited. Then we get to our main event. My God, was this the main event? Ricky Starks versus Bryan Danielson in a Texas death match. This match ruled. Daniel Bryan was putting over Ricky Starks for a lot of this match. Ultimately, Bryan Danielson does pick up the victory here, but man, did he put Ricky over. This was a little bit more tamed than I was used to seeing a Texas death match. I think the last one that I saw was a little more violent and a little more gory, and that was Deonna Purrazzo versus Mickie James for the Knockouts Championship in Impact Wrestling. But overall, I thought this was fun. I think, hopefully, this is the end of Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks' feud. I hope that Ricky does get to move on to a championship picture soon. And, of course, Bryan Danielson is doing his thing, and he's got to be ready because he's about to face Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream. And that is going to conclude my quick and dirty review for AEW Collision this week. Again, I thought this was a fun show. I know a lot of the people are naysaying out there because CM Punk is gone, and so Collision doesn't really have a purpose. And I kind of thought about that, but Danielson has been proving that he can put pretty fun matches, and it's a fun time. I just want this consistency to continue, and I'm hoping that it rubs off on AEW Dynamite as well, because we're starting to run into the same problems where we got a lot of matches, just not a lot of story built. And I feel like Collision, of the three AEW shows, is doing the best at stories, but not by much, but it's still a good time. But that is going to be it for the Collision Collective review of AEW Collision. If you like this review and want to check out other long-form reviews of all the TV shows and the pay-per-views we got going on, make sure to check this out here on the Biconics YouTube channel. If you want to know when these videos go live, as well as some behind-the-scenes action, you can check us out all over the social medias: Instagram, X, Threads, Facebook, TikTok. We're pretty much everywhere. And then if you want to hear more unhinged opinions about wrestling, you should check us out at the Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where our latest episode, we talk about our favorite wrestlers outside of AEW, some of our personal favorite matches, but then we spend about 45 minutes going into full conspiracy theory mode when we talk about the TKO merger and what it truly means for WWE and UFC. But this has been Mikey, who has been happy to step in for your regular host, Adolfo, for AEW Collision. And until the next Collision Collective review, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, stay Biconic, you beautiful people. See you later.